Whether it's from eating something they shouldn't have, or a change in diet, dog diarrhea can be normal for a day or two. But if it persists, it could be a sign of something more serious. So if your furry friend is experiencing loose stools or an upset stomach, here are 6 things you can do to help. No. 1. Fast your dog. This helps to restore the balance of bacteria in their gut so that they can digest food properly. Just like pumpkin puree and yogurt, it contains lots of water and fiber, both of which are great for helping to firm up their stools. Apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid, which is great for helping to reduce inflammation in your dog's digestive tract. This helps to alleviate symptoms of diarrhea, and it even helps to kill off harmful bacteria that may be causing an infection. If their diarrhea persists despite trying the above-mentioned home remedies, then it's important to contact your vet as soon as possible. For example, if they have a bacterial infection, they may need to take antibiotics. Or if they have parasites, they'll need to be treated with antiparasitic medication. If you suspect your dog has eaten something they shouldn't have, then your vet may also need to perform an endoscopy to retrieve the object from their stomach. Diarrhea can be a symptom of many different conditions, including infections, parasites, food allergies, or inflammatory bowel disease. Your vet will be able to perform a physical examination and ask you questions about your dog's symptoms so that they can determine the underlying cause. They may even need to run some tests, such as blood work or fecal tests, to get to the bottom of the problem. Do not delay seeking veterinary attention if your dog's diarrhea is bloody, or if they've lost appetite or are vomiting. These could be signs of a more serious condition that requires urgent treatment. To give your dog apple cider vinegar, you can add 1 tablespoon of it to their water and then give this to them once or twice a day. You can also add 1 tablespoon to their food if you prefer. Certain breeds are more prone to diarrhea than others, including Labradors, German Shepherds, Poodles, and Yorkshire Terriers. If you have a dog from one of these breeds, then it's likely that they'll suffer from diarrhea at some point in their lives. This is simply because they're predisposed to certain conditions that cause diarrhea, such as inflammatory bowel disease. In addition to apple cider vinegar, you may also want to try giving your dog probiotics. These include never giving your dog human medications without consulting your vet first, as some can be toxic to dogs. And never waiting longer than 24 hours between phone calls to your vet if your dog's diarrhea doesn't improve. Watch the video on screen now to learn more. Probiotics introduce good bacteria into their digestive system, which helps to restore the natural balance of bacteria that lives in their gut. This is important because when there's an imbalance of bacteria in their gut, it can lead to diarrhea. You can buy probiotics in liquid or pill form from your local pet store or online, but it's important that you follow the instructions on the bottle closely, as too much or too little won't be as effective. Some foods also contain probiotics, so feeding your dog yogurt or kefir can both help to improve their digestive health. To prepare rice water for your dog, you will need to cook some rice, and then put the water that you use to cook the rice in a bowl. Once it's cooled down, you can give this to your dog to drink. You can also add a little bit of the cooked rice to their food, which will help to bind their stools together and make them less runny. It's important not to use instant rice, as it'll contain chemicals that aren't good for your dog. White or brown rice are both great options, but brown rice does contain more fiber, so if your dog's stools are extremely loose, then this may be the better choice. As a bonus, yogurt also contains calcium, which is great for their bones and teeth. However, just like with pumpkin puree, you need to avoid giving them flavored or sweetened yogurts, because these can worsen their diarrhea. While some of the previously mentioned remedies will help to reduce your dog's diarrhea, it's still possible for them to become dehydrated as a result. So it's important to monitor them closely for signs of dehydration, such as sunken eyes, lethargy, or a dry mouth. If you notice any of these signs, then it's important to take action straight away and encourage your dog to drink more water. You can also consider adding low-sodium chicken broth to their water to tempt them to drink more. If you're still concerned about their hydration levels, however, then it's best to contact your vet for advice. You may even want to perform an exam to determine whether or not your dog is dehydrated. Depending on the severity of their dehydration, they may even need to be hospitalized so that fluids can be given intravenously. It's also important to note that some dogs may be lactose intolerant and may even develop a milk allergy over time. So if you notice that your dog seems uncomfortable after consuming dairy products, then it's probably best to avoid it in the future. When you're trying to fast your dog, it's important to ensure that they have access to water so that they don't become dehydrated. But apart from that, you want to withhold food until their digestive system settles down. This means that you should skip breakfast and wait until dinner to see if their stomach has calmed down by then. You may even need to skip dinner depending on how long they've been experiencing diarrhea. Once you do feed them again, start with a bland diet of boiled chicken and rice, which is easy to digest. If their stomach tolerates this well, then gradually reintroduce their old food over the course of a week. This doesn't just apply to dog food, though. Human food can also make dogs sick, especially rich foods that are high in fat or carbohydrates like chocolate, dairy products, onions, garlic, and avocados. So if you suspect that they've eaten something they shouldn't have, withholding food may be the best option for them. 2. Pumpkin puree. Whilst fasting is a good option for dogs who've eaten something they shouldn't have, pumpkin puree is a fantastic home remedy for all dogs suffering from diarrhea. It contains a lot of fiber and water, which helps to solidify their stools. Plus, it has antioxidants that help support their immune system. However, it's important to opt for plain canned pumpkin puree without any added sugar, spices, or other seasonings. Dog food and pumpkin are two completely different things, and so feeding them dog food straight out of the can will only make their diarrhea worse. If you do use pumpkin puree regularly, it's also important to keep an eye on their calorie intake so that they do and become overweight. 3. Yogurt. Plain yogurt that contains live and active cultures is another excellent home remedy for dogs suffering from diarrhea because it introduces good bacteria into their digestive system. 4. Rice water. Rice water isn't just for us humans. It's actually great for dogs too. 5. Apple cider vinegar. 6. Monitor for signs of dehydration. 7. Contact your vet if their diarrhea doesn't improve. In most cases, the underlying cause of the diarrhea will determine how your vet treats your dog. And remember, some dogs are more prone to diarrhea than others. Now that you know what to do if your dog has diarrhea, why not learn about 8 things that you shouldn't do?